watch your loved ones go in and out of hospital, battling to breathe, suffering and in pain.
I pray and trust that Vertex will respond favourably to my humble plea for assistance as time is running out and Vertex is our only shining light of hope. Please help.
This was a plea for life, a plea for access, a plea ignored by Vertex.
My family are one of the lucky ones, but we didn't get access to Trikafta without a fight. Vertex's patents on these medicines gives them a monopoly that allows them to charge whatever price they like. There was a long battle between the NHS and Vertex Pharmaceuticals because of the high price of the drug. It took several years, and in that time dozens of CF patients lost their lives. Eventually we persuaded the government to threaten Vertex patients, which led to a deal being made. After getting access to Trikafta, my daughter's life was transformed. She went from regular hospital visits and admissions to not needing any hospitalisations at all. Following the success of the UK campaign, patients in other countries are now learning that with the right knowledge and the right tools, they can replicate what we did in the UK and force change. Vertex's sky-high prices mean that CF patients in most countries around the world cannot access this life-saving treatment.
In India, the biggest challenge we face is to get the right medications for the cystic fibrosis families. Currently, there are more than 3,000 families in India which are affected by cystic fibrosis, and there are hundreds which are under-detected.
In Lithuania, the biggest challenge is not having the gene modulators, because without those miraculous drugs, people are condemned to death. Because only we get the palliative care. Knowing that there is a medication but it's not accessible in Lithuania, it's devastating.
They're holding the patents in India for past 10 years and we still don't have them. So what does that mean? That they have no understanding on how much India is suffering without these medicines. I want to show you something. A 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 16-year-old, just 18 months, 3.5-year-old. All these kids could have had a life.
I feel angry and sad because without those medications, our kids are dying. Can you imagine waking up every morning and knowing that there's a death behind the corner and you don't know when it will come for your child?
For years, we've called on Vertex to act.
We've written letters, sent them multiple mails from across the country. We even met the Vertex representatives, but they don't understand. We don't have time to wait.
Only by breaking Vertex's monopoly and delivering access to affordable generic versions of these medicines can we save the lives of CF patients around the world.
Every voice added to ours strengthens our fight. A fight for a world where every life is valued and no one is denied the right to breathe.
I'm Daniel with UAEM UCLA. And at UAEM, we say that a medication is only as useful as it is accessible, which is why Vertex should not be winning this award, as their medications are extremely inaccessible to the patients that need it the most.
Hi, my name is Akash, and I'm a member of UAEM at UCLA. What do I think of Vertex winning this award? Well, it's an amazing breakthrough that they've made by developing this drug, Trikafta, that could potentially save tens of thousands of lives. But I think the impact is significantly reduced if this drug is largely unaffordable. It's priced at about $300,000 a year, if not more. That's like insanely unaffordable for a year and inconceivable for a decade, which is how long these patients often need the medication. So if Vertex wants to make the positive impact that they're claiming, I think they need to significantly make this drug a lot more accessible.
I was extremely frustrated to find out, especially as a pre-med student, that this drug, which would be able to increase the average life expectancy for patients with cystic fibrosis from 30 years to 80 years of age, was a drug that costs patients over $300,000 a year. So it is definitely not accessible for a majority of patients in the United States, and much less for patients who are living in low and middle income countries. And as a student who has seen firsthand patients struggling to get access to life-saving medications that they need in clinic, it is especially frustrating for us to have a drug that is such a miracle and life-saving drug, but can't actually have the impact that researchers would want it to have, because the majority of patients don't have the access to this drug in the first place. So I was very infuriated and really hope that we can push for the lowering of this life-saving drug so that patients are able to access it.
Hi, I'm Aisha, and I'm a part of UAEM, and we believe that healthcare should be available to all, regardless of socioeconomic status, and people shouldn't be able to not afford life-saving care.
My personal journey with CF actually is a very special one, because I conceived twins naturally and the three of us survived. So, being a miracle mom with miracle babies, it does put things in different perspective for you. And being alive every single day is amazing, and it's such a privilege. And once you start living out of a position of privilege instead of right, your whole perspective changed, really. And I think that is the gift that CF really gives us. And then I became very, very ill. I was on oxygen 24/7. I couldn't work anymore. I couldn't be a mom anymore. I couldn't contribute towards my household's income. I ended up on a ventilator in October in 2021. And that's when Dr. Kathy Baird said she thinks we must start the journey of working me up for a transplant. I was put on the list, very traumatic. And I think it's a very, very dark place to enter, realizing that you need major risky surgery in hope of something saving your life. Then Trikafta came over my path, and it was something that I read about years ago, and I actually refused to read any more about it, because I thought, I don't want to know about something that's never going to hit the market. And then suddenly I found out, but it's on the market and it is changing people's lives. And once again, I just decided what I can't see, what I can't hear, cannot affect me. And I refused to actually look further and deeper into Trikafta. And that is when Dr. Kathy said to me, she thinks I must really, really look into Trikafta. And I was amazed with all the stories. But again, I felt so dismayed, because in South Africa, what is the chances I will never be able to afford it? And by a lot of grace and mercy, I got donated stock from different areas that I do not feel comfortable, explaining. And I started the journey on Trikafta. And within 2 days, I sang to my children their lullaby again, and my son started to cry, and he said to me, "Mummy, I never thought I was going to hear your voice again in my whole life." So the impact it brought to me and to my family and to my loved ones, it's just immense. It's not just one patient's life that's changed. And within about a month, I could stop using my oxygen during the day. I can only use the oxygen during night. Suddenly I had energy. Suddenly my lung function picked up. And Dr. Kathy said to me, she thinks in South Africa, my story is the most drastic one because I'm even off the transplant list. So I don't need this risky 50% chance of failure, of dying, going into surgery, is off the table for me. I can work, I can contribute towards my children, I can be a mom, I can be a wife again, you know? And I think that's the love-hate relationship we have with Vertex, because obviously we are deeply thankful and impressed about the drug, but it's just not accessible. Is that acceptable? Is that human rights? How much human rights travesties do we have to endure before we say, as patients and as a world, as humans, this is not acceptable? So I would also please want to ask the organizers in future, would you maybe make a category of where, you know, where award would be only awarded if the pharmaceutical is really committed to the patients and it's accessible. When I heard today that Reshma, you know, earns 20.6 million per annum, I realize why she's not understanding our dilemma. You know, when you have, you will never understand the position of those who do not have. And it's scary. I work for the South African Cystic Fibrosis Association, and I'm worried because I know of households that's selling houses, trying to afford medication for their child. And it's easy for you and me to say, no, hang on, it's not sustainable, it's the wrong thing to do. But can you imagine in what a desperate situation a mom and a dad is when they have to say to their CF child, you are not going to get better. You use this medication. We can't afford it anymore. We're going to stop it. And I want to tell you a little personal story again. One morning I'm on Trikafta. One morning I woke up and I'm desperately ill, like in old days. I can't breathe. I've got a fever. Everything is wrong with this picture. I was in a complete panic, full-blown panic. I phoned my husband and I said to him, please, you need to come home. You need to take me to hospital. Something's wrong. As he's making his way home, I'm starting to go through the tick list. What did I forget? What did I not do? What went wrong? And then I realized I forgot to take my Trikafta. 2 days. 2 days, 48 hours. And I was desperately ill. Back on the oxygen, couldn't breathe, felt horrific. So I started back on the Trikafta, and within 24 hours, everything settled and I was back to normal. So that is what I'm asking, and that is why I'm very worried. You know, this product, you feel the difference within 2 days. You will notice when you stop this medication. So I'm urging Reshma, I'm urging Vertex, I'm really asking you guys, go back to the drawing board. Is it really worth all this financial gain that you have, and you're literally holding a world to ransom because of your pockets? Would you please be reasonable and let's renegotiate the price of Trikafta?
No awards without access.
No
No
awards
awards
without
without
access.
access.
No awards without access.